Thank you. Welcome to Unity of Santa Barbara. My name is Bob Vitamonte, and I'll be the platform host today. And I'm really thrilled to see these smiling eyes. I can't see many faces, but I can see the smiles in their eyes. So that's a beautiful sign. So welcome here today. And we also want to welcome everybody who's here via the internet and watching our streaming service today. We really embrace you all, and we're all present. So we're looking forward to a wonderful sharing right now. We also want to certainly welcome Reverend Cathy Norman, who will be speaking to us later on. And for those of you who are legally inclined, we are 6 feet apart. So we're being very respectful of that. So for those of you who are saying you're breaking the rules, but we are not. Before we go too far along, I'd like to ask all of you that are here to kindly silence your cell phones. And for those of you at home, you can leave them on, but don't pay attention to them. I'd like to start today with the daily word, which is comfort, which is something that's very important in these strange times that we're in. Christ in me is comfort. Experiences that move me out of my comfort zone are part of my life. The first day at a new school, starting or leaving a job, a new phase in a relationship, retiring from a career, the passing of a loved one. Any change can evoke discomfort, even grief. I grieve when I think of changes as loss of security, loss of my place in community, or the loss of love, or the loss of a loved one. The Christ, the divine presence within me of life, love, and wisdom is my constant source of comfort through all of life's changes. I find assurance that, although its physical expressions may change, life can never end. I know oneness and love with all who are dear to me. Recognizing my divine nature, I know that there is no loss, no change or circumstance that can limit me, and I am comforted in that knowledge. Beautiful. And from the Psalm 71:21, you will increase my honor and comfort me once again. It's a beautiful thought, and certainly in these strange times, we're all looking for comfort in different places. And so, Noreen Brokke will now give us a little bit of music. I certainly hope our sound system worked for those listening on the internet. This was very beautiful, very beautiful. And I'm calm now, so some announcements, our favorite part of how do we participate. In case you have missed any of the emails or the announcements, we are having two services, one at 9:30 and one at 11:15. And so we are having a second service today, and we'll do the same thing next weekend. And based on what happens in the rules, we'll figure out where we're going from there, but so we'll go from there. As part of Santa Barbara County health officials' pandemic protocols, we can only seat up to 25% in our capacity for our sanctuary here. So if you're interested in attending, and we certainly welcome you and join you, the smiling faces here, you can register online. You go to our website, and you can register for that, and that allows us to make certain that there's enough room. We also have some outdoor seating, so if there's overflow, and it looks like we probably will use it later on today. So that's the welcoming that's here. In addition to the distancing, we will be checking temperatures and sanitizing and all the rest of that. So, and kind of as a one last statement about it, if you're feeling sick, stay home and enjoy the service at home. We're all obviously want to maintain the focus on limiting the spread of COVID-19. In this sanctuary here, there will not be any live singing by the choir or anything like that. So if you see films and things of that sort, that's exactly what you're watching. You're watching films. So, and at the end of the service, we would like everyone to kind of exit through the side doors here and continue your social distancing. Now here's something that's part of our community. We've always had refreshments after the service, so I'm going to read this and then add a little something. Unfortunately, we are not able to provide refreshments after service, but you are welcome to visit with friends outside in our beautiful courtyard, observing physical distancing protocols. And for those of you who haven't been here yet, the landscaping and the project is really beautiful. We welcome you. However, we are totally pleased to provide spiritual and emotional refreshments throughout the service and any time thereafter. And those of you at home, just enjoy, sit back with that. Okay. On next Sunday, our guest speaker will be Reverend Bob Euler, who will also be providing a workshop on Saturday. And if you would like to attend that workshop, please register online. And I believe the workshop will go from around 10:30 to around noon, but the times and specifics are on our website. In addition, if you want to come to services, Reverend Bob will also be handling the service, and so you'll get a chance to meet with him as well. So again, register for that as well. The flower dedication. The flower dedication is actually by our board president, Allison Jordan, and this is what she dedicates it to. This dedication is to the search team. Thank you for all the hard work that you put in to bring us two wonderful minister candidates. You spent many months working very hard and long hours, and we are all so grateful for your service. So a special shout out for those members of the team. And then, after a 3-month delay, the annual youth ministry fundraiser will be conducted soon, and it'll be discussed later. 100 Things That Make Me Happy is underway. You can pick a number or two between 1 and 100 and donate that amount. Check out our website for more information or see Jennifer after the service. And so for those of us who are here, you actually get to see this incredible board that's outside that will really pull at your heartstrings and allow you to do that. So those of you who are online who pick a number, somebody may have already gotten it, so for what it's worth. All right, the bookstore will be open today, and it offers the Daily Word and other spiritual books of one sort or another. And now, Reverend Cathy has another announcement.
Well, I am here to tell you how lucky you are as a church. During the last few years, Unity Worldwide has not had enough ministers to fill in the vacant churches. There are more ministers retiring and more churches that are without ministers than any other time in the Unity history. For instance, when I graduated in 1983, we had 51 students that graduated. Nowadays, there's anywhere between 5 and 8. So you can see that there's more vacant churches, and many of them are closing down, than there are ministers that are here to be able to fill in the vacancies. The search committee, and I'm so glad that these flowers are dedicated to them, because this last year they have put in quite a bit of work. They put in work to not only try to see who would be a good fit for us, but there were a number of people who applied that weren't really qualified for this church. So because we live right now in unprecedented times, we are asking each of you to do your own homework. We want you to look at the website, our website, and to see the information that's posted there about Reverend Heidi and about Reverend Bob, our two candidates. And we also are asking you to do your homework to go beyond that. And what I mean by that is that Reverend Bob Uhler has a number of videos on YouTube. I want you to go on there, look at how he talks, and if it's a vibratory match for you. Also, Reverend Heidi has her talks on Facebook at Center for Spiritual Living in Fort Lauderdale. Check those two places out. Do your homework. Look at what we have on the website, so that when it comes time for you to really give feedback to the congregation, and I mean feedback, not complaining. Feedback means, okay, from a higher perspective, this is what I see, this is what I know will work and not work. Really give them some feedback. And so I just want to extend a real gratitude to each of you, because I know you're going to do your homework, and I appreciate it very much. And I also want to let you know how lucky you are, because there are a lot of churches without any kind of candidates. So give yourselves a hand for that.
Actually, I'd like to add something to that. For those who might not know it, is that the various interviews and programs that have been put on by Reverend Heidi, and I'm sure the same thing will happen with Reverend Bob, they're actually posted on our website. So you can hear the interviews, and when I say the interviews, that were live here. So the workshop that occurred last weekend and the workshop that occurs next weekend, as well as the one-on-ones that they did with the group. They're really good, and by date, et cetera. So if you want to get a refreshed sense of Reverend Heidi or Reverend Bob, that's another place to go to. Also, I want to, before we go further, is really to thank all the volunteers that are making this service really possible. So can I hear a round of applause for those folks? We have people doing screening. We have people doing the audio visual. We have people placing the chairs. We have people registering people in. So the process now has been amplified a bit to step up to the COVID challenge. So there's a lot of work done around that. And lastly, just remember that our website contains all information, our email address, et cetera. So for those of you who are inspired by the flowers, for example, if you feel called to donate flowers or to make a dedication, please write us via the email address that's on our website, or call the office. And now, really, I want to address what brings us together. So we here at Unity of Santa Barbara have a vision. And that vision is really what we hold for the world. And I'd like to have us all join and read that together. Centered in divine love, we celebrate a kind and awakened world filled with peace, abundance, and joy. So that's the vision that we hold. And I love the word kind. That has a special feeling to it. So be kind. Be kind to yourself and be kind as you look out. And that kindness will shine through your eyes. We also have a specific mission. And the mission is, these are the things that we do that we believe will help facilitate the achievement of our mission, of our vision. So join me in speaking the mission. We inspire, educate, and serve to awaken our oneness with Spirit. We inspire, educate, and for those of you who are online or have not seen some of our things, we have programs galore that we put on here and that we share, either live or they're recorded. And so we invite you to see that we really do work to educate all of us and to inspire us to the next step. And as a community, we developed some core values. And the core values are how we want to hold ourselves to really have this be possible. And if you adopt these core values as kind of a theme at how you run your life, it will help transform everything around you. And so, read with me, community, we are abundance, we are love, we are God-centered, we are inclusive, and we are living consciously. I'd like to now move to our statement of faith, which is kind of the unifying principle that really embodies the unity work, but also so many other spiritual paths for that matter, because it's really about the importance and the source of who we are. So join me with our statement of faith. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, the infinite, living, loving presence of God. And if you'd like to take this in a little bit more and you're comfortable, close your eyes. I'm going to just read it very slowly and just let the words sink in and kind of realize them for yourself. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, the infinite, living, loving presence of God. So thank you for joining me in that. And Noreen, would you take it away?
Gift
Don't you love how creative that was? It's good to see everybody again. I love it. Oh, that was amazing. Well, I want you to imagine with me, it's 1980. And you walk into a carnival, and there is a crowd that is gathered there, and they are all crowded around a chandler who claims to see the future. It's 1980, folks. The crowd is silent, and all you can hear is the bracelets around the chandlers. You know, she's just rubbing her hands around the crystal ball. She touches her third eye, and for a moment concentrates her attention. Focus! Focus! And then she whips out some glittery dirt and sprinkles it around the table. All of a sudden, there is a spirit that is here. The crowd is even quieter now. He's talking to me. You have come from the future with startling news. Concentrate, focus. The football player O.J. Simpson will be tried for murdering his wife. The crowd is now in shock. The Olympian Bruce Jenner will become the first conservative feminist. I see self-driving cars, and everyone will carry telephones. Payphones will be extinct. I see pudding pops, pudding pops, pudding pops, the commercial pudding pops. Ah, yes, the comedian Bill Cosby behind bars for sexual misconduct. Well, the room now just bursts out in laughter. Too unbelievable. No way. Bill Cosby, the father of goodness and laughter. This is a hoax. Silence. Silence. There is more. Ah, yes, the spirit is telling me that the businessman Donald Trump will turn out to be a successful billionaire, then a game show host, and then the president of the United States. The audience is looking a little bewildered and betwixt by this point. Ah, finally, the world. Oh, silence, the world will be shut down. Everyone will have to stand 6 feet apart and wear masks. And the crowd has just had enough. They are starting to get up, they're starting to leave, and they don't believe anything that this Chandler has to say. Wait, there's additional information. There will be more than 63 genders in the future. And the spirit is telling me a warning for all of you here. Listen, listen. Do not give your power away. Do not let the outer world tell you how to think and feel. Do not give away your freedom of choice. For those who anger you, control you, you must become spiritual warriors in the midst of change. And the crowd files out, and they just are laughing. They think this is a hoax. But what rang true for each of these people in that audience were the words, "The one who angers you is the one who controls you. You must become spiritual warriors in the midst of change." And so, as you can see, we have gone through some interesting changes in this lifetime, haven't we? Yes, we have. And so, you and I have gotten used to change in increments of time. And it is the same with our own individual lives. We live in increments of change. There is no possible way that you can live this life journey, and that is going from where you are right now to where you want to be, and not expect change is not going to happen. It's got to happen. And once change happens, you get used to the new normal, and then you trust it, and then there's another increment of change. Change is constant, and how we respond to change will either empower you or it will deplete you. And that is the topic of today's lesson. How you respond to change will either empower you or it will deplete you. Many times something happens and then we freak out. And we place our trust in our fears rather than in God, rather than a power that is greater than any circumstance, rather than a divine intelligence who really knows what it is doing. How many times have you freaked out within the last few months? Anyone? Yeah, probably all hands should go up. How about within the last 24 hours? It's just part of living on planet Earth. The Bible is full of freak out moments. Have you ever noticed that when we read in the Bible about the disciples, they are always freaking out? In one case, they're on the boat, there's this little storm that comes by, and what do? They freak out. And then there's another instance where the disciples, they just have a few fish and some loaves, and then guess what? There's 5,000 people that decide to come for dinner, and what do? They freak out. And then there's this part in the Bible where Mary the harlot comes and she wants to wash Jesus' feet and anoint them with oil, and what do? They freak out. And so he is constantly saying, "Oh my God, ye of little faith, why are you freaking out? Be strong, be courageous." And then he says, "Do not be frightened, do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." Amen. Thank you. Thank you, my sister. And so it is within these stories that we ask ourselves, where are we putting our trust? Are we putting them in our freak out fears, or are we putting them in God? And the freedom of choice is always ours. But here's what I observe. I observe in today's day and age that there is a big change. There is a pandemic going on, and we have an enormous agreement. There's a collective consciousness. Charles Fillmore called the collective consciousness race consciousness. Carl Jung called it the herd consciousness. I personally like herd consciousness because sometimes it feels like that, where we have a group agreement about things, and many times we are in agreement without being fully aware of what we are agreeing to. Sometimes it is very, very unconscious. And one of the things that we have a tremendous agreement about in our culture is that we have a tremendous agreement about being victims. Now, just hear me out just for a moment. We have a shaming and being shamed group agreement. Usually this kind of herd consciousness has something to do with fear. And it comes in so sneakily and so cleverly, especially when there are changes that are happening at an ever-heightened speed. My friends, that is why we are called to be spiritual warriors. A spiritual warrior means being impeccable with how you use your energy in the world, and being on guard as to how subtle and easy it is to slip in to herd thinking. I can't tell you how many calls I have been getting from people who are disturbed by things that are in the news or conversations with others or something that's changed within their own lives. And the next thing, they're experiencing maybe some sadness, fear, anxiety. And so when I get these calls, I ask them, what was the reason? Why did you feel that you had to just kind of give your power away, your energy away? It comes in very subtly. Why are you being victimized by something that doesn't need to be your experience? Take a look at some of the things that maybe have triggered you within the last 3 months, 24 hours, and ask yourself, does this need to be my experience? Remember how we experience something is a choice. How you experience whatever it is your choice. We touched on this subject some weeks ago, and the calls that I have been getting from Unity of Santa Barbara have been around this subject. So I would just like to remind each of us here today that with herd consciousness, the slightest agreement can change the altitude of your attitude within seconds. I noticed the other day that in my mind, I was in herd consciousness. I was, in my mind, I wasn't doing this verbally, but I was victimizing someone and shaming them because they weren't wearing a mask in the grocery store. In my mind, I said, shame on you! Do you know what you're doing? And then I gave them the evil eye because I was hoping they could kind of see it from here. I was not being a spiritual warrior. Remember, being a spiritual warrior means being impeccable with how you use your energy in the world. Then about 30 minutes later, I walked into our little pet store in Ojai, completely forgetting that I didn't put on a mask. I just forgot. I got shamed big time. I got chewed out, and talk about evil eyes all around the store. What I put out energetically came back to me multiplied. And I didn't take it personally because it was such a fantastic reflection. It was a fantastic lesson. I was grateful for the reframe to get me back into alignment. I was in herd consciousness, my friends. Now I just want to tell you, here's the deal with feeling victimizing or with shaming. What happens is that we start calling people. You know, we have them on speed dial. You know those people? Those are the ones that are in agreement with us. I'll agree with your victimization and shaming if you agree with my victimization and shaming. And it's kind of like this little negative mastermind group. I have some on my speed dial. Believe me, I've done this. And the problem with this is that you can never be enough of a victim to be healed. You can never be enough of a victim to be happy. Victimhood on any level is the hard way. Healing doesn't take place on that level. Never does, never will. You can't victim your way to success. You can't victim your way to finding the love of your life. You can't victim your way to financial wealth. The only thing that happens at that level is more to feel victimized about. Now, we are created with free will choice. God did not create us to be puppets. We get to choose how we want to spend our precious moments. So when the outer world is constantly changing in wacky ways, how do we respond? Or do we react? You see, when we react in victim consciousness, you are saying that there is a power outside of you, and they are doing it to me. They have dominion over me. Someone outside of me has control. whether I'm happy, prosperous, or free. Have you ever had that experience where it felt as if someone or something had control over your emotions? Anyone? I have. Probably every day, right? We get triggered somehow, some way. For instance, take a moment, if you will, just take a moment. Remember a recent occasion where you felt like maybe you were looking at Twitter or Facebook or the television, or maybe you had a conversation with someone, or maybe it was the radio. And notice how quickly you reacted to the opinions of others. Maybe you got angry or irritated or fearful. Or did you react, or did you just respond? Because it's okay to listen to any of these things from a place of, oh, this is a nice story. Look at how it's all kind of laid out. Or are you triggered? For example, the other day, a friend of mine was listening to the radio, and she was having such a great day. I mean, life was good. And then the radio host on the radio was just saying a couple things about the economy. And all of a sudden, very subtly in her mind, she slipped into what I call a fear fiesta, where she freaked out for about 20 minutes, just being fearful of the possible changes that haven't even happened and may never happen. And she allowed herself, her well-being, her happiness, her peace of mind to just go into this whirlwind of a storm, if you will. And it was ever so slight, and she was the victim of exactly what the radio host wanted. He wanted the audience to go into that place of fear with him, very subtly, and in an instant, she gave her power away. In an instant, I'm sure she became a part of this herd consciousness that unconsciously went into group agreement, where everyone that was listening to that radio show went into victimhood. And she realized after about 20 minutes of a fear fiesta that she was not being a spiritual warrior. She was not being impeccable with how she was using her personal energy. Remember, in the Course in Miracles, it says, the mere presence of fear is a sure sign that you are trusting only in your own strength. And when fear shows up, it's a signal. It's a signal. It's a feedback mechanism, if you will, telling you that you are not in the right place. You're not in alignment with God. You're not in alignment with goodness. You're not in alignment with higher mind. You are not trusting. You're not trusting that God's got this. So here's my 2 bits. Because change comes in. It rarely comes in the way you think. I mean, have you noticed? Just look at us. We've got masks on today. We look kind of ridiculous in a way. And I would never have predicted this a year ago. Change comes in, and it never comes in the way you think it does. Unless we know the truth about how change works, we start freaking out, and we start feeling out of control. When change begins to present itself, possibly the first thing that we're going to do is, this is wrong, this shouldn't be happening this way. And whether it's in the world or in your own personal life, right? What we need to do is, whatever is happening, is we have a calling, a higher calling to trust. The universe is working in your favor, my friends, and you need to trust that on the other side of anything, that there is something great trying to push through. This is why refusing to get hooked into herd consciousness takes being a spiritual warrior. Amen. Thank you, my friend. This is a master class that we're in. You've got to trust that the universe is in charge and that something greater is trying to push itself through. Many years ago, I went through some unexpected changes. My former husband and I were going through a divorce. I was living in a temporary place. I was feeling really low. I was feeling like a victim. I was really feeling sorry for myself. And I really wasn't even sure about my future. And my mom, who was also a Unity minister, retired now, but at that time she said something that I have held on to, and I want you to hold on to it as well. She said, "Cathy, God has a plan for you, and it is greater than what you can imagine. And the things that needed to change for some greater reason, there is a greater birth of something greater coming through." When she said that, I knew she was right. And it was later that year that I met my husband, who's the love of my life. And the gifts that came out of that whole change, they are immense. They live with me even unto this day. Now, I tell you that little story because we usually ask for change. And when it arrives, we are surprised. And we ask for change because there is a deep longing for something different. Our planet has been asking for change, and now we're surprised that we're closed down. If you trust, my friends, something incredible is trying to birth itself here. God has a plan for us, and it is greater than what any of us can imagine. So, you can certainly go into herd consciousness, give your power away, or you can trust that the universe has got our back. The universe has got your back. Therefore, if we are going to be spiritual warriors, which means being impeccable with how we use our personal energy in the world, then we must be aware of where we are putting our trust. Is it in God, or is it in fear? Because change is going to happen, whether we like it or not. In a moment, we're going to go into a meditation and really take these principles into a deeper level. But right now, what we're going to do is take up our offering. I'm going to ask those of you that are online, if you will, you'll see that on our website there is a offering button, and if we have been of value to you, I'm going to ask you to go to that offering button and when you have a moment. And for those of you that are here, we're going to go ahead and bless our gifts in our own way. And just know these words with me, those of you that are here. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I share. Take a moment, bless your gift in your own way. And so, dear God, I ask that you not only bless each of the givers, I ask that you bless each of the gifts. And as each giver has given from a heart of kindness and generosity, may it come back to them 1,000-fold and even more in return. For these gifts, we are so grateful. And so it is. Amen.
Days pass, years vanish, and we walk sightless among miracles. God, fill our eyes with seeing, our minds with knowing. Let there be moments when the lightning of your presence illumines the darkness with which we walk. Help us to see wherever we are that the bush burns unconsumed, and we claim, touched by God, did not know it. How filled with awe is this life, and we did not know it. Days pass, years vanish, we walk sightless among miracles. God, fill our eyes with seeing, our minds with knowing. Let there be moments when the lightning of your presence illumines the darkness with which we walk. Help us to see wherever we are that the bush burns unconsumed, and we claim, touched by God, reach out for holiness and exclaim in wonder, how filled with awe is this life, and we did not know it. How filled with awe is this life, help us to see it, help us to feel it, help us to know
That was prissy, wonderful, just beautiful. So now we're going to go into our time of meditation. Take these truths into a really deep level. I want you to just take a moment to realize there's not a spot where God is not. God is everywhere present. God is a power and a presence that is greater than any circumstance, mightier than any condition. And each of us here at one time or another have had that experience of surrendering. And all of a sudden there was a loving peace that just washed over you. This is your experience of being in alignment. So think of that experience. Allow that experience to serve you right now. Allow that experience to just wash over you, this loving peace. Remember how you felt. Bring that feeling to right now. We magnify now that loving peace by extending that to each person in this sanctuary and those that are watching us here today. This is our group consciousness. From higher mind, we join together, magnifying, purifying, loving peace. And if there's anything in your life where maybe you get triggered, maybe there's something where you get anxious or fearful, I want you to just give it over. And if you have to almost visualize yourself giving energy over to God, to this substance that is everywhere present. Just see yourself giving it over. This is not your concern. This is not anything you need to worry about. For the universe has an infinite amount of ways of caring for you. So as you surrender, be at peace. And also know that at the core of your being, you are indestructible. There is nothing to fear. And as we slowly and gently start to come back into the awareness of this room and where you might be as you're watching online, and take this final moment once again to send out a blessing to each other here, to those listening. Once again, just a blessing of gratitude. We have served each other well today. And for this blessing, dear God, we do give thanks. And so it is. Amen. And so now is our, I'm just going, well, Bob will come on up here.
Oh, what a beautiful meditation. That was beautiful. And the talk about being spiritual warriors, that leads us actually to the closing of our service, which is, we like to say, the prayer for protection. And if you really embody this prayer, it's very powerful in terms of owning truly who we are. So please join me in saying the prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. I am that light. The love of God enfolds us. I am that love. The power of God protects us. I am that power. The presence of God watches over us. I am that presence. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Wonderful. Thank you, thank you. And please join me as we sing the peace song, I think. I'll be that? Okay.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as Creator,
please exit that way, and there are donation boxes for those of you who want to leave your love offering. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I'm gonna redo my paperwork here. Hold on. There we go. Good job,
You know that song?
I don't know that song.
Lazy, hazy, crazy days of summer?
I know the title, but I didn't know that was it.
Oh, yeah.